The Batavian Revolution was a political, social and cultural turmoil at the end of the 18th century that marked the end of the Dutch Republic and saw the proclamation of the Batavian Republic. The period of Dutch history that followed the revolution is referred to as the Batavian French Era, even though the time span was only 20 years, of which 3 were under French occupation. Background: by the end of the 18th century, the Netherlands found themselves in a deep economic crisis, caused by the devastating Fourth Anglo-Dutch War. Like in much of Europe, the people of the Netherlands grew increasingly discontent with the authoritarian regime of the stadtholder, William V. During this time, the banks of the Dutch Republic held much of the world's capital. The government-sponsored banks owned up to 40% of Great Britain's national debt. This concentration of wealth led to the formation of the Dutch Patriots by a minor Dutch noble named Joan van der Capellen tot den Pol. They were seeking to reduce the amount of power held by the stadtholder. Thus, the division emerged between the Orangists, who supported the stadtholder, and the Patriots who, inspired by the ideals of the Enlightenment, desired a more democratic government and a more equal society. The Patriots built support from most of the middle class, and founded militias of armed civilians, which between 1783 and 1787 managed to take over several cities and regions in an effort to force new elections which would oust the old government officials. The Patriots held Holland and the city of Utrecht, while the Orangists held the states of Guelders and Utrecht. In 1785, stadtholder William V fled his palace in the west of the country for Nijmegen in the east, as the states of Holland were not willing to send their troops to fight the Patriots. In May 1787, the stadtholder's troops were defeated by the militia of Utrecht near Vreeswijk. When Princess Wilhelmina was stopped by Patriot militia near Goerjanverwelsluit on June 28, 1787, she applied to her brother Frederick William II of Prussia for help. On September 13, a Prussian army of 20,000 men under the command of Duke of Brunswick crossed the border. The fortress of Vianen was deserted. The city of Utrecht opened its gates. At the fortress of Woerden preparations for defense were made, but actually there was no resistance when the Prussians arrived. In Amsterdam, several houses of Patriot regents were plundered by mob. The stadtholder returned to Gravenhage in Amsterdam, the last city to hold out, surrendered on October 10. The Patriots continued urging citizens to resist the government by distributing pamphlets, creating Patriot clubs, and holding public demonstrations. The government responded by pillaging those towns where the opposition was concentrated. Most Patriots went into exile in France, while Holland's own Ancien regime strengthened its grip on Dutch government chiefly through the Orangist Grand Pensionary Laurens Peter van der Spiegel proclamation of the Republic. But the restoration was only temporary. Only 2 years later, the French Revolution began, which embraced many of the political ideas that the Patriots had espoused in their own revolt. The Patriots enthusiastically supported the revolution, and when the French revolutionary armies started to spread that revolution, the Patriots joined in, hoping to liberate their own country from its authoritarian yoke. The stadtholder joined the ill-fated First Coalition of countries in their attempt to subdue the suddenly anti-Austrian French First Republic. This war also proceeded disastrously for the stadtholder's forces, and in the severe winter of 1794-95, a French army under General Charles Pichegru, with a Dutch contingent under General Herman Willem Daendels, crossed the great frozen rivers that traditionally protected the Netherlands from invasion. Aided by the fact that a substantial proportion of the Dutch population looked favorably upon the French incursion, and often considered it a liberation, the French were quickly able to break the resistance of the forces of the stadtholder, and his Austrian and British allies. However, in many cities revolution broke out even before the French arrived, and revolutionary committees took over the city governments, and the national government also. Aftermath. The Batavian Revolution ended with the proclamation of the Batavian Republic in 1795. William was forced to flee to England, where he proclaimed that all Dutch colonies were to fall under British rule as they had declared war on the Batavian Republic. A number of these colonies, such as Sri Lanka and South Africa, never returned to Dutch rule. Several coups followed in 1798, 1801 and 1805 which brought different groups of patriots to power. Though the French presented themselves as liberators, they behaved like conquerors. The Batavian Republic saw its end in 1806, when the Kingdom of Holland was founded, with Napoleon's brother, Louis Napoleon, as King of Holland. In 1810, the area was annexed into the First French Empire, and only in 1813, the Netherlands regained their independence, with William's son, William Frederick, as sovereign prince.